How to knit is that all these little stitches come together to make scarves, to make blankets, to make finger puppets, to you name it. Like, it's all these tiny little stitches that create this beautiful creation, right? And it combines a pattern, unique threads, and a unique stitch. That's what I find really fascinating. And when I was thinking about that, a scripture verse from the Bible came to mind, and it's from Psalm 139 or something. And it says, "You have created my inmost self, knit me together in my mother's womb." The idea that God has actually knit us and created us to be the person that we are. He designed us. And so learning to knit has actually helped me understand God's love a little bit more than what I did before. That out of complete darkness, the first thing he created was light, and he created several other things. Eventually he created human beings. But when I think of God creating things now, I think of like a complete dark room and only hearing two little metal needles ticking together, right? Of something being knit together. And when you think of all the trillions of people who have ever been on this earth, not who are just currently on this earth, but who have ever been on this earth, that each one was created with a unique pattern that as soon as it was made got torn up and thrown away, and a new pattern was created. Using series of different stitches, using threads from one mother and one father to create a person unique. I mean, sure, DNA is not a new idea, but it's still fascinating that there is an idea that there is a creator behind all of this. And that each stitch is intentional and that it's thought out. Now, teaching me how to knit was an act of extreme patience and love, because I have the attention span of a goldfish. Try anything? So I would do one thing, I'd look up and I'd look down and I didn't know where I was. I wasn't familiar with it. And so it took a lot for me to be able to focus on it. But no one had to teach God how to knit. That's what's fascinating. No one had to teach him. He had the original pattern. He had the original thought. He had the original intention when he created you. It's really part of what I do for my job at the church is to help people know what each stitch God used when he created them. That is, to know what their strengths are and to know what their talents, and that each talent that they have is a unique stitch. And people have different combinations of these talents. So that's a real great thing that I'm able to help people recognize that in their lives and to see it happening in their own lives. So we've been created good and with a purpose and with an intention. We've been created to be in good relationship with not only God, but also with each other. And what's great is that we can learn about our relationship with God from each other, how to be in a good relationship with God from each other. But we also learn from God how to be in good relationship with other people. We've also been created to be in a relationship, but we've also been created with a destination in mind, with a plan, like with a purpose. And our purpose is heaven. When Monica knits something for someone, she knows who she's knitting for. She knows what she wants to knit. If it's going to be a scarf, if it's going to be mittens, if it's going to be a sweater. She knows the size that it needs to be. She knows what colors to use. She has a plan. She has a purpose. And when God created us, he had a purpose and he had an intention, has an intention. And that intention and that final purpose is heaven. And that's to be in relationship with him. It's exactly what we were designed for. Now, this scarf I'm wearing tonight, it wasn't knitted. I would say it was woven more than it was knitted. And it was given to me by a friend of mine who had traveled, actually it was a former boss. He had gone to Italy and he picked up a scarf like this for all the people in our office. There was only 3 girls in the office. And he picked it out particularly, he knew what colors we like and what we typically wear, and he bought a unique one for each of us, which was really nice. He had that intention in mind. What I particularly like about this scarf, not only that it was given to me by someone who's a friend, but that I've spilled coffee on this thing probably, well, okay, spilled isn't really the word, it's more dribbled, like, is it, right? So, on this several times, but you can't tell because it's got all these colors on it, and it, you know, it confuses the eye, right? It's exciting that way. And I've also gotten, you can't tell, but I've got a pull in it. I got a thread that's kind of hanging out on it, and, well, I mean, no one can really tell. I know it's there. But what that thread does is it weakens the integrity of my scarf, doesn't it? If I pull that too much, or if it actually gets cut, I'm going to have a hole in my scarf, right? See, the thing is, too, that God created us good. He created us like a beautiful scarf, right? We're not so different from the scarf that, you know, sometimes we get holes in ourselves, and we get stains on ourselves, and we get things that happen to us. So tonight we're going to look very briefly at, take an opportunity to kind of look at a little bit of those dark stains, if you will, right? And that God didn't just leave us to have dark stains on our scarves and leave us to be messy, right? He came to help us fix our dark stains on our scarves too. So what is darkness? Darkness is an absence of light, right? Darkness is a lack of clarity. Darkness is not knowing where you are. Sometimes it's not knowing who you are. Darkness is not knowing where you're going. Darkness can mean stumbling, and darkness is the absence of knowing where the light is and knowing the good. Now, I'll be honest with you, I do have several areas of darkness within my own life. Some are very glaring. They're not like neatly concealed coffee stains. They're a little more obvious. But then the ones that are like the concealed coffee stains that you can't tell from the outside, but you can tell from the inside. Some things like I get preoccupied with people who drive me crazy, and I let that affect how I treat the people who don't drive me crazy. I don't forgive the people who do. I'm careless with my money. I'm a little bit out of shape. Over Christmas, I got into an argument with a niece of mine who's 19, and I hold a grudge. Those are the areas of darkness in my life, some of them. I won't tell you all of them. And these are the things that compromise and weaken the integrity of the soul that God has created in me. And there are areas of my life that I see where I don't see that there's a way out, where I feel pretty lost, and that I lose sight of what I'm created for, of what God's pattern is in my life, and that destination is heaven. I lose sight of that often. God knew this when He made me. He knew that I would get these preoccupations and these frustrations and these weaknesses. I'd let them get to me. And He knew that I'd lose sight of heaven. And He knows that we all have that in our life as well. So I don't know that I'm necessarily the only person who has stains on their soul, the soul that God's given them. I think we can take heart that we're not the only person that struggles. We all have these struggles and these dark spots in our lives. Like I said, God knew that we would have these, but He didn't just leave us dirty and stained with holes in us. He doesn't do that. He loves us so much that He didn't leave us in our sinful darkness. He decided that He would send Jesus to be with us. Jesus who cannot be destroyed. He cannot get a hole. Jesus to whom no stain can stick on. Jesus can't die. Jesus died and He rose again. He beat death. He's impenetrable to darkness. It doesn't touch Him. And so he died in our place and he rose again to lead all of us back to our Creator. It's like he's the spiritual tide to clean our dirty scarves. He's the divine weaver, if you will. He fixes all the mistakes and the pulled threads in our souls. So Psalm 119 says that your word is a lamp to my feet and a light for my path. And then in 1 John it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was made flesh, and it dwelt among us. So we know that Jesus is the Word that became flesh, and that he is the light. He is our light to illuminate that darkness. But the thing is, Jesus didn't just give us a light so that we could go on our merry way and walk around with this light that might burn out. Jesus himself is the light. And he can bring clarity, and he helps us remember who we are. He helps us remember the purpose of our life, and he helps us to know what our destination is. And our destination is heaven. Now, Jesus isn't a flashlight. He isn't this concentrated beam that helps us see into the future. Jesus is a warm lamp that helps us, that casts a warm glow on our surroundings, so that step by step we can see in front of us. And it's trusting that step by step he will illuminate things as we move forward. So, do you, like me, have areas of darkness, areas of stain in your life that you need Jesus to bring your light into? His light into, sorry. I want you to know that if you do have these dark areas, that first of all, remember, God didn't create you with these stains and with these things. And secondly, he sent Jesus to fix those. You don't have to walk around the rest of your life with these areas of darkness, carrying these areas of darkness. He came to clean those things up, and he wants to. It does require, on our part, an openness to let him in, to let him be the light, to let him solve the problems, to fix the holes, to clean up the messes. And sometimes it takes a lot of humility and vulnerability and trust to let him into those areas. But it's worth the fear of vulnerability there.